What if I told you that everything inside your body, your bones, your blood, every single atom, was born in the fiery hearts of exploding stars billions of years ago? That you are, quite literally, the child of dead stars, drifting through the universe until their ashes gathered to become you. For thousands of years, humanity has asked the same question. Who created the Earth? Was it the gods of myth, Gaia, Autumn, a golden cosmic egg, or the body of a slain giant? Or is the truth something far stranger, written deep into the invisible laws of the universe? Stay with me, because this journey will take you back to the very beginning. To a moment when reality itself was born, and what you are about to discover will be stranger than any legend ever told. Picture yourself standing alone in the middle of a vast field. Night has fallen. Above you stretches an endless sky, glittering with billions of stars. And in that silence, one question rises. Who created all of this? Who placed our fragile Earth in just the right place for life to exist? From the dawn of civilization, people sought answers. The Greeks called her Gaia, Mother Earth. The Egyptians believed the god Autumn rose from the primordial waters to create heaven and earth. The Indians spoke of a golden cosmic egg that cracked open to give birth to everything. The Norse imagined a giant whose body was torn apart to weave the fabric of the world. These stories sound like myth, like the shared dream of humankind in its earliest days.
What if I told you that everything inside your body, your bones, your blood, every single atom was born in the fiery hearts of exploding stars billions of years ago? That
clouds
you are,
of cosmic dust
quite
igniting,
literally,
catastrophic
the child
collisions,
of dead
and one great
stars,
explosion that gave birth to the
drifting
universe
through the
itself. And
until
here is
their
the
ashes
greatest
gathered
twist of
to
all.
become
You,
For
me,
thousands
all
of
of us,
years,
we are made of
humanity
stardust.
has asked the
So
same
who,
question.
or what, truly created
Who created
the Earth? Let us turn back
Was
the
it the
clock
gods of myth,
from the
Gaia?
shadows of
A
myth,
golden cosmic egg?
through the
Or
shattering
body
moment
of
of the
slain
Big
giant?
Bang,
Or is the
to
truth
the
something
fiery
far
birth of Earth
stranger,
and the first
written
whisper
deep
of life.
into the invisible laws
Because
of the
only
universe?
when we understand
Stay
the
with me,
origin of Earth
because this
can we
journey
truly
will take you
begin to
back
understand
to the
ourselves.
beginning.
From
To
the
a
dawn
moment
of time,
when reality
long
itself
before
was born,
telescopes
and
could peer
what
into
you
the
are about
heavens,
to discover will
long
be stranger
before
than any
mathematical
legend ever
equations
told.
trace the
Picture
history of
yourself
matter,
standing alone in the middle
humankind
of a
has
vast
always yearned
field.
for the same eternal
Night
question.
has
Where did this
fallen.
world come from?
Above you
Who
stretches
created
an
it?
endless sky,
And why do we exist here
glittering
at
with
all?
billions of
Imagine
stars.
yourself as
And in that
100 tens of
silence,
thousands of years
one
ago,
question
standing on the
rises.
vast, wild
Who
steppe,
created
gazing up at a
all of
sky
this?
ablaze with
Who
stars.
placed our fragile
Without
Earth
science,
in just the right
without
place for
books,
life to exist?
you only had your eyes
From
and
the
your
dawn of
imagination.
civilization,
Night
people
falls,
sought answers.
the fire flickers,
The Greeks called
and
her
around
Gaia
that
Mother
fire
Earth.
your tribe
The
begins to
Egyptians
tell
believed the
stories
god
about
Adam
the
rose
origin
from
of
the
the world.
primordial waters to create
Over
heaven and
time,
earth.
those stories
The Indians
became
spoke of a
myths,
golden
passed
cosmic
from
egg
one generation
that
to the
cracked open
next,
to give birth
and each
to
civilization
everything. The
invented
Norse
its own
imagined a
explanation
giant
of how
whose
the
body
Earth
was
was
torn
born.
apart to weave the
The
fabric
ancient
of the
Greeks
world.
believed that in the
These
beginning
stories
there
sound
was
like
chaos,
myths,
a void,
like the shared dream of
shapeless and
humankind
dark.
in its
From
earliest
chaos
days.
emerged
But then
Gaia,
science
Mother
arrived.
Earth. Gaia
truth
was
it
not
revealed
seen
was
as a
even more
lifeless mass of
breathtaking.
rock.
A story
She
with
was
no
envisioned as a
gods,
living deity,
no golden eggs, but
immense
with
and
stars
fertile,
that
brimming
burned
with
and
creative
exploded.
power. From her
Clouds
womb
of
came
cosmic
Uranus,
dust,
the
igniting
sky, followed by the
catastrophic
gods, the
collisions.
titans,
In
the
one
seas,
great
and all living
explosion that
things.
gave
To
birth
the
to the
Greeks,
universe
the Earth was
itself.
the mother
And
of
here
everything,
is the
the
greatest
foundation
twist
of
of all.
existence, the ultimate
You,
origin.
me,
When they sowed
all of us,
seeds
we
and watched them
are
sprout
made
from
of
the soil,
stardust.
they believed
So
it was
who or
Gaia
what
herself
truly
nurturing
created the
her
Earth?
children.
Let us turn
Meanwhile,
back the clock
in Egypt,
from the shadows
another great
of myth
civilization
through the
along the
shattering
Nile
moment of
told
the
a
Big
different
Bang
tale.
to the
They
fiery
believed
birth
that
of
before
Earth
heaven
and
and
the first
earth
whisper of
existed,
life.
there was
Imagine
only a
if someone
boundless
told
ocean
you
called
that
none,
you
endless
and everything
formless.
you know
From those
about our
waters
universe,
arose Autumn,
including
the first
the
god,
Earth,
who appeared
might have
entirely on his
originated
own,
from a single
with no
point
creator
smaller
above
than
him,
an atom,
standing upon a
which
mound
then
that rose out of the
expanded to the
chaos.
vast
Autumn
cosmos
began
we
to shape
observe
the
today.
cosmos. He
Sounds
separated
crazy,
sky from
right?
earth,
Well,
created the
that's
sun,
exactly what
summoned
scientists
the winds,
believe. And
the
it all
Nile,
started with
and
a
finally
tiny
humanity.
quantum fluctuation.
Every morning when the sun
Our
rose,
universe, with
Egyptians
all its
believed
galaxies
Autumn
and
and the
planets,
gods were
is like a
continuing the work
giant
of creation.
cosmic puzzle.
Through this
And
faith,
scientists
the Nile
are the
became
detectives
sacred,
trying to
the
put
sun
the pieces
became the
together
god Ra,
to figure
and
out
earth
how it
itself
all
became
began.
holy.
One of the most intriguing
Farther
pieces of
east,
evidence
the
they've
ancient
found
Indians
is something
spoke
called
of a
the
colossal
cosmic
golden
microwave
egg here in
background
Yagarba.
radiation.
Inside
Think
that
of
egg
it like
lay
the
the entire
universe's
universe.
baby picture.
When the egg
It's a
cracked
snapshot
open,
from
the
just
sky split into
400,000
two
years
halves.
after
One
the Big
became the
Bang.
heavens above,
Back then,
the other the solid
universe
ground
was
below.
unimaginably
From this
hot
cosmic egg
and
emerged
dense.
gods, humans,
Everything was
and
a
all living
swirling
creatures.
mix of
The
particles.
golden egg was more
That's
than
when
just
the
a
cosmic
symbol of
microwave
fertility.
background
It
radiation
represented
was
completeness.
born. But wait,
The wholeness of
there's
existence
more.
itself.
Scientists have also discovered that this radiation
the Norse
isn't
people
perfectly
imagined
uniform.
a different
There are
beginning.
tiny
They believed in
variations in
Ginnungagap,
temperature
the great
across
void,
the sky.
where fire
These
from
spots may
Muspelheim
seem
met ice from Niflheim.
insignificant.
When flame and frost collided,
As the universe
a
expanded,
giant named
these
Ymir
temperature
was born.
differences caused
From Ymir's
slight
body the
variations
gods
in
fashioned
density.
the world.
Some areas
His
had
bones
slightly
became
more
mountains.
matter than others.
His blood the seas.
And here's
His
where
skull the
things
sky.
get really
Earth itself was
interesting.
woven from the flesh
Gravity
of a primordial
did its
being.
thing.
A vision
It
both
pulled that
violent
extra
and
matter
majestic.
together,
What
forming
is
clumps,
strange
which
and
eventually turned
fascinating
into stars
is that
and
despite the
galaxies.
vast differences in
those
geography,
tiny fluctuations,
language,
smaller
and
than a
culture,
quantum,
these
acted
stories
like
all share
seeds,
one
setting
astonishing
off a chain
similarity.
reaction that
Earth
led to
was
the
never
universe
considered
we
a mere
know
accident.
today.
In
Now
the minds
let's
of
zoom
ancient
in
people,
on Earth.
there was always
Our
a higher
planet
force,
is like a small
a
piece
will,
of this
a sacred hand
cosmic
that shaped
puzzle.
the world.
But
Earth
just
was
like
not
the
just a
universe,
lifeless rock,
Earth
but a
has
living
its own
entity,
story to tell.
a divine gift.
Created
But why did people
the
think
Earth?
this way?
Across
Perhaps
millennia,
because in the
civilizations
perilous
pondered
wilderness
this
of the
question,
past,
weaving myths
humanity
and legends
needed
to explain our
explanations,
planet's
needed
origin.
meaning.
But what if
They
the
watched
ancient
the
myths
sun
were
rise and
how
set,
our
saw the
ancestors
seasons
explained
change,
the world through
witnessed the
imagination?
Nile's waters
Then modern
nourish their
science
land,
takes us on a
and
very
could not
different
believe it all
journey.
happened by
Journey
chance.
built on numbers,
Instead,
laws,
they wove
and
stories to
discoveries
reassure
that shake
themselves
the very
that they were
core
not alone,
of what we
that a
believe.
grander
And
purpose
this
guided
story
everything.
begins
And yet, those were
13.8
only tales
billion
told in
years
the darkness
ago.
of night.
In a strange
When
moment
science
we
entered
now
the
call
stage,
the Big
the
Bang.
veil of myth was slowly
But
lifted,
forget the image
and
of a
truth
bomb
began to
exploding.
emerge.
The
But
Big
the
Bang
most
was not an
unexpected twist was
explosion
this.
in space,
Truth
it
did
was
not
the
make the world any
expansion
less
of
magical.
space itself.
On the contrary,
the entire
it
universe
revealed
was
a
compressed
reality
into a
far
point
stranger,
so small and dense
wilder,
that our
and more
familiar laws of
breathtaking than
physics
any
simply
myth ever
collapsed.
told. Because
Then
instead of a
suddenly,
god,
it began
an
to
egg,
stretch.
or a giant,
In less than a
the
fraction
origin
of
of
a
Earth
second,
began with a
the universe
cosmic
expanded
event
from the
that shook
size
the
of an atom
entire
to something
universe, the
unimaginably
Big
vast.
Bang.
In those first
If the
fleeting
ancient myths
instants,
were how our
the
ancestors
four
explained the
fundamental
world
forces
through imagination, then modern science takes us on a very different journey, a journey built on numbers,
after the Big Bang simile
laws,
so brief
and discoveries
the
that shake
destiny
the
of
very
everything.
core of what we
In this
believe.
golden 3
And this
minutes,
story begins
the temperature
13.8
cooled just
billion
enough
years
for
ago,
protons and
in a
neutrons to
strange
fuse.
moment we now
The
call
very
the Big
first
Bang.
atomic
But
nuclei
forget the
formed
image of a
mostly
bomb
hydrogen,
exploding.
helium,
The Big Bang
and a
was
trace
not
of
an
lithium.
explosion in
But
space.
they would become the
It was
foundation
the
for every
expansion of
star,
space
every
itself.
planet, every
The
form of
entire
life to
universe
come.
was
Time
compressed into a point
marched
so
on.
small and
The
dense that
universe
our familiar
kept
laws of
expanding,
physics simply
cooling.
collapsed.
And it wasn't until
Then
about
suddenly, it began to
380,000 years
stretch.
later
In
that
less than a
electrons
fraction of a
could
fraction of a
finally
second,
bind
the universe
with
expanded from the
nuclei
size of an
to
atom to
form
something
neutral
unimaginably
atoms.
vast.
At that moment,
Scientists call
light
this
once
phenomenon
trapped in a fog
cosmic
of plasma
inflation.
escaped for the
In those
first time,
fleeting
flooding
instants,
across the
the four
cosmos.
fundamental
The imprint of that
forces
event
we know
still lingers
today,
today
gravity,
as the cosmic microwave background
electromagnetism, the strong
a whisper
nuclear
we can still
force,
detect
and the
with
weak
modern
nuclear
instruments.
force,
From
split
immense
apart from what
clouds of
may have
hydrogen
once
and
been a
helium,
single
gravity
superforce.
began its
The
relentless
universe
work.
at that
Matter
time was
clumped
like a
together,
symphony being
compressing
tuned,
until heat and
each
pressure
note
soared
breaking
down.
off into its own
Then,
tone,
the
together
first stars
composing the
ignited.
grand
They
harmony of
blazed
matter.
in the
The
primordial
first 3
darkness,
minutes after the Big
illuminating
Bang,
the newborn
seemingly so
universe.
brief, determined
Inside
the
their
destiny
fiery
of everything.
hearts,
In
nuclear
this
reactions
golden 3
forged
minutes,
heavier elements.
the temperature cooled
Carbon,
just enough
oxygen,
for protons and
iron the
neutrons
raw,
to fuse.
ingredients,
The very first
essential
atomic
for life.
nuclei formed, mostly
stars
hydrogen,
do
helium,
not live
and a trace of lithium.
forever.
Just
The
three
most massive
simple
ones,
elements. But they
after
would become the
exhausting their
foundation
fuel,
for every star,
collapsed and
every
exploded
planet,
in
every form of
spectacular
life to come.
supernova.
Time
These
marched
cosmic
on, the
explosions were not
universe
just
kept
endings,
expanding,
but
cooling,
beginnings.
and it wasn't until
They
about
scattered their precious elements across
380.00
the
years later
universe,
that electrons
seeding
could finally bind
galaxies
with nuclei
with the
to form
dust
neutral atoms.
that would one day form
At that
planet
moment,
sand,
light,
ultimately
once trapped
Earth.
in a fog of plasma,
Here lies a truth
escaped for the
that
first
can
time,
send shivers down your
flooding
spine.
across the cosmos.
Every single
The
one of
imprint
us.
of that event
Every
still
tree,
lingers
every
today as the
creature
cosmic
is made
microwave
from the
background,
ashes of
CMB.
ancient stars.
The faint
oxygen
afterglow
you
of the birth
breathe,
of the universe,
the iron in your
a
blood.
whisper we can still
Pause
detect with
and
modern
imagine
instruments.
that.
From immense clouds of hydrogen
and helium,
gravity began its relentless work.
Began
Matter
its
clumped
relentless
together,
work.
compressing
Matter
until
clumped
heat
together,
and pressure soared,
compressing
and
until
then
heat
the first
and
stars
pressure soared
ignited.
and
They blazed
then
in
the
the
first
primordial
stars
darkness,
They blazed in the
illuminating
primordial
the newborn
darkness,
universe.
illuminating
Inside
the
their
newborn
fiery
universe.
hearts,
Inside
nuclear
their fiery
reactions forged heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, the raw ingredients essential for life.
Iron, the
but
raw
stars do
ingredients
not live forever.
Essential for life.
The most massive ones,
stars do not
after
live forever.
exhausting their
the most
fuel,
massive
collapsed
ones,
and
after
exploded in
exhausting their
spectacular
fuel,
supernovae.
collapsed and
These
exploded
cosmic
in
explosions were not just
supernova.
endings,
These
but
cosmic
beginnings.
explosions
They scattered
were
their
not just
precious
endings,
elements across the universe,
but beginnings.
seeding galaxies with the dust that would one day form planets, and
seeding
ultimately
galaxies
Earth.
with the
Here
dust
lies
that
a
would
truth
one day
that can
form
send
planets
shivers
and
down your
ultimately
spine.
Earth.
Every single one of us,
Here lies a truth
every
that can
tree,
send shivers
every
down your
creature
spine.
is made from the the ashes of ancient stars.
One of us.
The oxygen you breathe, the iron in your blood,
is made
the calcium in your bones,
of
all were
ancient
forged in the nuclear furnaces of stars that died
in your
long
bones
before our world was born.
In the nuclear furnaces
As the
of stars
astronomer Carl
that died
Sagan
long
once
before
said,
our world
we
was
are made
born.
of star
Pause
stuff.
and imagine that.
Pause and imagine that.
From a single
point at the beginning,
the universe stretched
into infinite space. Particles joined to form atoms.
Birthed stars. Stars exploded into dust.
And
that dust gathered into worlds.
It
sounds like a myth.
It sounds like a myth.
But it is the reality
science has uncovered.
And in this seemingly chaotic chain of events, our planet, the Earth, was set on its path to exist. So when we ask, who created the Earth? The answer may be this.
The primordial universe itself.
Through the unyielding laws of physics. Through colossal
explosions. And through the epic deaths of stars.
And this journey,
after billions of years, finally led to the birth of our solar system, the cosmic neighborhood where a small blue planet was about to appear, the Earth, about 4.6 billion years ago. In a quiet corner of the Milky Way, a colossal cloud of gas and dust, the legacy of dead stars from earlier generations,
Imagine
began to collapse under the weight of its own gravity.
Without life,
slowly,
just
particles of
darkness.
dust and streams
now
of gas
imagine
gathered,
a time before
swirling
Earth
into
even
a massive
existed,
disk spinning around a central
chaos
point.
And
At its heart,
skies.
where matter grew densest,
to the dramatic
temperatures soared to unimaginable heights until nuclear fusion ignited.
Years ago,
in that instant,
in a quiet
the sun
corner
was born.
of the Milky Way,
around it,
a colossal cloud of gas and dust, the legacy
spinning.
of dead stars from
Countless
earlier generations began to collapse under the weight of its own gravity.
Together and
Slowly,
growing larger with every collision.
Imagine
trillions upon trillions of grains of sand colliding over millions of years.
At its heart,
clumping into rocks, then into boulders,
temperatures soared
and eventually into worlds.
Until nuclear
Some of these
fusion
fragments
ignited.
became
in
comets,
that instant,
others asteroids, and a select few grew into
around
planets.
The
Among
disk
them,
of dust
one particular
and gas
sphere
kept
would
spinning.
someday be known
Countless
as Earth.
fragments
But the
crashed
young
into one
Earth
another,
was nothing like the
sticking
gentle
together
blue
and growing
world we know
larger with
today.
every collision.
It was a
Imagine
hell of
trillions
fire and
upon
chaos,
trillions of
its
grains of
surface and
sand
ocean of
colliding over
molten
millions
rock.
of years,
Its
clumping
skies
into
filled
rocks,
with choking toxic
then into
gases,
boulders,
and its
and
body
eventually
ceaselessly
into
bombarded
worlds.
by giant
Some
asteroids.
of these fragments became comets.
Scientists call
others
this era the late heavy
asteroids,
bombardment,
and a select
a
few
time when the newborn
grew
planets of our
into
solar
planets.
system were scarred
Among
over
them,
and over by
one
catastrophic
particular
impacts.
sphere would someday
Then came a
be
collision
known
so
as
violent.
Earth.
It changed Earth
But
forever. A
Earth was
Mars-sized
nothing
body,
like the gentle
named
blue
Theia,
world we
slammed
know
directly
today.
into our
It was
planet.
a hell of fire. And
The impact was apocalyptic. Part of Earth's crust melted.
Its skies filled
Billions
with choking
of tons of
toxic
rock
gases,
were hurled into space.
and its body
But out of that
ceaselessly
devastation
bombarded
came
by
creation.
giant asteroids.
The debris that circled
this
Earth
violent
eventually
beginning
clumped
was a
together into a
cosmic
single
hailstorm
companion,
of
the moon.
creation. A
The
relentless
moon was not
pounding that
just the
lasted
product
for
of
hundreds of
destruction.
millions of
It
years.
became the
Scientists call this
stabilizer
era
of
the
Earth's
late heavy
destiny.
bombardment time,
Its
when the
gravity
newborn
kept our
planets of our
planet's
solar
tilt
system were
steady,
scarred over and over by
ensuring the
catastrophic
rhythm of
impacts.
seasons in
Then
a
came a
relatively
collision
stable
so
climate.
violent,
Its pull
it
created
changed
tides
Earth
that shaped
forever.
coastlines
Theia,
and stirred oceans.
a Mars-sized
Rhythms
body
that would later
slammed
nurture the very
directly
first
into
forms
our
of
planet.
life.
The
Without
impact
that
was
catastrophic impact, Earth
Part of
might
Earth's
never
crust
have become
melted.
habitable at
Billions
all.
of tons of
Over
rock were
millions of
hurled into
years,
space.
Earth's
But
surface
out of that
cooled,
devastation
a
came
solid
creation.
crust formed,
The debris
shielding
that
the
circled
seething
Earth
magma
eventually
below.
clumped together
From the
into
planet's
a single
interior,
companion.
gases
The
like
moon.
steam, carbon
The
dioxide,
moon was not
and
just the
ammonia
product
vented
of
out,
destruction, it
cloaking Earth
became
in
the
a dense
stabilizer
primordial
of Earth's
atmosphere.
destiny.
Then
Its
the rains
gravity
came,
kept our
not for
planet's
days,
tilt steady,
not for
ensuring
months,
the rhythm
but
of
for
seasons
millions of years.
and a relatively stable
Endless rains
climate.
filled the low
Its
basins,
pull created
creating
tides that
vast
shaped
oceans,
coastlines
and within those
stirred
oceans, the seeds
rhythms
of
that would
life
later
were about to be
nurture the
sown.
very first
Pause
forms of
here
life.
and picture
Without
this,
that catastrophic
a planet
impact,
once a fiery
Earth
inferno,
might never have
pummeled
become
relentlessly
habitable
from the
at all.
skies,
Over
scarred
millions
and
of
broken,
years,
slowly
Earth's
transforming into a
surface
world
cooled,
with skies,
a solid
seas,
crust formed,
and an atmosphere.
shielding the
From
seething
chaos
magma
and
below.
destruction,
From the
Earth was
planet's
reshaped
interior.
into a place
Gases
capable
like
of
steam,
harboring life.
carbon dioxide,
The astonishing
and
truth
ammonia
is that
vented
Earth's
out,
birth was
cloaking
not a
Earth
single
in a
event,
dense,
but a delicate
primordial
chain of chance and
atmosphere.
necessity.
Then the rains
Without
came
Theia's
not
collision,
for days,
there would
not
be
for
no
months,
moon.
but for
Without
millions
the moon,
of years.
Earth's tilt
Endless
might wobble
rains
wildly,
filled the low basins,
leaving its climate
creating
unstable and
vast
hostile.
oceans.
Without the rain of
And
comets
within those
and
oceans,
asteroids,
the
Earth
seeds
might
of
have been
life
dry,
were about to be
devoid
sown.
of water
Now,
and organic
close
molecules.
your eyes and
In other
listen
words,
to that
Earth is the
again.
product of both
Life
chaos
on
and
Earth,
inevitability.
all life,
and
every
within
living
that
thing
fragility,
traces
it found
its
its
existence
perfect
back
orbit
to this
around the
moment.
sun,
We
not too
are
hot,
the inheritors of
not
a
too
planet
cold,
reborn.
just right for life. Think about the razor's edge we balance upon. One tiny alteration in the chain of events 4.6 billion years ago.
Into being over
and perhaps there would be no you, no me, no one here to ask the question, who created the Earth? And yet, by fortune or fate, it happened just as it did. And within those primeval oceans, life prepared for its first awakening.
Constant change.
In Earth's primordial oceans, after rains had poured down for millions of years,
tells a tale of adaptation,
something extraordinary
of resilience,
happened. The most
life,
miraculous event in the history of the universe.
Story is
life
one of
appeared.
Breathtaking transformations.
But life did not begin with whales,
testament to
birds,
the awesome power of nature
it began
and
with
the relentless
so
march
small
of
the
time.
naked eye could
it
not
is a
see
story
them.
that began
Organic
billions
molecules.
of years ago.
Primitive chemical chains
still,
with the ability to copy
Earth
themselves.
Just a planet.
Scientists call this the transition from chemistry to biology.
Of life.
In 1953,
a
famous experiment by
out.
Stanley Miller and Harold Urey demonstrated that if you recreated the conditions of early Earth with water,
just one small part of
methane,
a much greater
ammonia,
story.
and electric
the story
sparks,
of the cosmos,
you could produce
the grand
amino
narrative
acids,
that stretches from
the
birth of the
blocks
universe
of life.
to the farthest reaches
this
of
meant
space
that in
and time.
Earth's primordial
For
soup,
Earth
lightning and volcanic heat could have sparked the very first steps toward biology.
A story
Another idea, the RNA world hypothesis, suggests that RNA, a molecule capable of both storing genetic information and catalyzing chemical reactions, may have been the first form of life. From there, life
that you are part of something much greater
becoming
than
more
yourself.
complex.
You are
Around
part of the story of
3.5
Earth,
billion years ago,
a story that is as
first
old as time
single-celled
itself
organisms
and as
emerged.
timeless
They
as
lived
the stars
in the oceans,
above. Thank you for
feeding on
watching,
simple
and I'll
chemical
see you
compounds.
next time.
Then came a turning point. Some organisms learned how to harness the power of the sun. This was photosynthesis. When cyanobacteria began releasing oxygen as waste, Earth's atmosphere was transformed forever. Oxygen accumulated, creating the ozone layer to shield the planet from ultraviolet radiation,
there would be
and opening the door for life to diversify. Time
no one
moved
here
on.
to ask the question.
Single-celled organisms
Who
combined to
created
form
the
multicellular
Earth?
beings.
Yet,
around
fortune
540
or
million
fate,
years ago,
it happened
during
just
what
as
scientists
it did.
call
And
the
within
Cambrian
those
explosion,
primeval
life on
oceans,
Earth erupted in
life
variety.
prepared
In a
for its
geologically
first
short
awakening.
span, countless new creatures
What
appeared,
exactly was that
animals
awakening?
with shells,
Was it a singular
crustaceans,
event?
and the
A spontaneous
first beings
ignition
with
of complexity in an
From that
otherwise
moment,
lifeless
evolution
void.
unfolded
The
like
prevailing
an epic
scientific
drama.
view holds
Fish
that
conquered
life
the seas,
arose
plants and
gradually
reptiles spread across
from
land,
non-living matter
dinosaurs
through a series
ruled the
of
Earth
steps
for
that were
millions
neither
of
sudden
years,
nor spectacular.
only to be
In
wiped
Earth's
out by a massive
primordial
asteroid.
oceans,
Mammals
after rains
rose
had
in their
poured down
place,
for
and
millions
finally,
of
just a
years.
few hundred
Something
thousand years
extraordinary
ago,
happened,
a mere
the most
blink in
miraculous
Earth's
event
history,
in the
humans
history
appeared.
of the universe.
Think about this.
Life appeared.
Earth is
But life did
4.6
not
billion
begin
years
with
old.
whales.
Life has
birds,
existed for
or
3.5 billion
It began
years,
with things so
but
small
humans
the
have
naked eye
only
could
been
not
here
see
for a
them.
few hundred thousand
Organic
years.
molecules.
If Earth's history were
Primitive chemical
compressed into a
chains
single day,
with the ability
humans would
to
appear
copy
only
themselves.
in the last few seconds
Scientists
before
call
midnight.
this the
We are
transition from
unimaginably young in the
chemistry
cosmic
to biology.
timeline,
In
and yet we carry the
1953,
intelligence to ask the
a famous
question,
experiment by
who
Stanley
created
Miller
the
and
Earth?
Harold Urey
What
demonstrated
makes
that
Earth
if you
unique
recreate
is not
the
only how
conditions
it
of early
formed,
Earth with
but
water,
that it carries
methane,
life.
ammonia,
In our solar system,
an electric spark
no other
soup
planet
could
is known
produce
to host
amino
life.
acids.
The universe
The
may
building
hold
blocks of
billions
life.
of worlds.
This meant
Yet Earth
that in
remains the
Earth's
only one we know
primordial
where life
soup,
has flourished into
lightning
consciousness.
and volcanic heat
Is that
could have
pure
sparked
luck,
the very
or was it the
first
result
steps
of a cosmic
toward
design,
biology?
where
Another
countless
idea
conditions
of the
aligned
RNA
perfectly?
world hypothesis
right distance
suggests
from the
the
sun,
RNA, a molecule
an
capable of
atmosphere
both
thick
storing
enough to
genetic
protect
information
and
and
nurture,
catalyzing
a
chemical
magnetic
reactions,
field to
may
shield
have been the
against
first
cosmic
form of
rays,
life.
a
From
moon
there,
to stabilize its
life
tilt,
slowly evolved,
oceans of liquid water to
becoming
host chemistry.
more complex.
Science can
Around
explain each step,
3.5
but the
billion
meaning
years
remains
ago,
open.
the first
Perhaps life is
single-celled
the inevitable
organisms
outcome
emerged.
whenever
They
the
lived in
universe has
oceans,
enough time and
feeding on
matter.
simple chemical
Or perhaps it is so rare
Then
that
came a
among
turning
billions
point.
of planets,
Some
only
organisms
Earth carries
learned
this
how to
precious
harness the
gift.
power of the sun.
In that sense, Earth
This was
is more than just a
photosynthesis.
planet.
When
It is living
cyanobacteria
proof
began
that from
releasing oxygen as
stardust,
waste,
from
Earth's
chaos,
atmosphere was
from
transformed
collisions and
forever.
cataclysms,
Oxygen
life
accumulated,
can emerge and grow
creating
into
the
intelligence
ozone layer
capable of
to
questioning
shield
its
the
own
planet
origin.
from ultraviolet
This story is not
radiation.
only about
and opening the
who
door
or
for
what
life to
created the Earth.
diversify.
It is about us.
Time moved
Fragile
on.
beings who can look up at the night
Single-celled
sky and
organisms
ask,
combined
why are
to
we here?
form multicellular
So,
beings
after all,
around
who
540
created
million
our
years
Earth?
ago,
Perhaps
during
not
what
Gaia,
scientists call
not
the
the
Cambrian
god Autumn,
explosion.
not a golden
Life on
cosmic
Earth
egg or the
erupted
body of
in
a slain
variety.
giant,
In a geologically
and not a
short
visible
span,
hand sketching
countless
out a
new
master
creatures
plan.
appeared
The
animals
answer science
with
gives us
shells.
may sound dry,
Crustaceans!
but it is truly
And the first
magnificent.
beings with
It was the
backbones.
primordial
From that
universe
moment,
itself. through the
Evolution
unyielding laws
unfolded
of physics,
like an epic drama.
through colossal
Fish
explosions,
conquered
through stars
the
that
seas.
lived and died in fire,
Plants
through
and
catastrophic
reptiles
impacts and
spread
torrential rains of
across
comets
land.
that
Dinosaurs
forged
ruled
this
the
blue
Earth for
planet.
millions of years,
Earth was
only to be
not
wiped
created
out
in
by
a
a
single
massive
miraculous
asteroid.
moment, but across
Mammals
billions
rose
of
in their
years of
place,
chaos
and
and
finally,
transformation,
just a few
from a cloud
100,000
of
years
stardust
ago,
to the birth of the
mere
sun
blink
and the
in
solar
Earth's
system,
history's humans
through the
appeared. Think
apocalyptic
about this.
collision that gave us the moon,
Earth is
through endless rains
4.6
that
billion
filled the
years
oceans,
old. Life
until the
has
first
existed
self-replicating
for
molecules appeared in the deep
3.5
seas.
billion years.
The journey is so
But
vast
humans
that
have
the
only
human
been here for
mind
a
can
few
barely grasp
100,000
it.
years.
And
If
yet it
Earth's
is that
history
very
were compressed
vastness
into
that
a single
amazes
day,
us, that the
humans would
universe
appear
can turn
only in the
chaos
last
into
few
order,
seconds before midnight.
destruction
Now,
into creation,
where do you go from
and
here?
stardust into
Do
intelligence.
you delve into the
So when
origins
we
of the
ask,
solar system?
who created the
Perhaps.
Earth? Perhaps
Or do you
the
explore
truest
the
answer
Big
is
Bang
this.
and the creation
Earth was
of the
created
universe
by
itself?
the universe itself,
The answers lie
and
in
we
the
are part
birth
of
to the
that
sun
universe.
and to the
But
planets,
then,
including
another
Earth,
question
which was very
emerges.
hot and
If
very
the universe
small.
could create
Earth
Earth
was
and life
bombarded
here,
by asteroids,
then out there,
and molten
among
rock
the billions of
rained on
stars
its
and
surface.
billions of planets,
But
might there be other
gradually it
places
cooled.
where life has
Water
taken
vapor
root?
in the atmosphere
Are we
condensed
truly alone
and
in the
fell
cosmic
as
ocean?
rain,
Or have we
forming
simply not yet
oceans.
learned how to listen?
Volcanoes
The
released
answer
gases
may not
that
come in
formed
this
a
generation,
protective
or
atmosphere.
the next,
A young
but the
Earth
search,
looked very different
the
from the
journey
planet
to
we
look
live
back
on
into the
today.
past,
Its surface was
to
shaped by
understand the present,
volcanoes.
and to
Its
dream of the
atmosphere
future
was
is
toxic,
what makes us human.
and life as we know it
And if
did
you
not
too
yet
hunger
exist.
for journeys
But
like
the story
this,
of Earth
if you
is
long to
not
uncover
over.
the great mysteries of the
Our
cosmos,
planet grew.
of history,
It gained mass
and
through
of
a series
science,
of giant
then don't
impacts
forget to
with
subscribe to the
bodies
channel
wandering
and
through
ring
the
the
solar
notification
system.
bell.
These impacts
Because
brought
here,
water
we
and
will keep
organic
going
molecules
further
to Earth,
toward even
setting
bigger
the
questions.
stage for life.
Is there life
Some
beyond
scientists
Earth?
think that the most
Does the
important event
universe
in
have an
Earth's
end?
early
And
history
humanity,
was the impact
where
that
are we
formed the
ultimately
moon.
headed?
When a
Right finger
Mars-sized
before you
planet
leave this
slammed into
video.
Earth, it
Share
tore
your
away
thoughts in
part
the
of our
comments.
planet's
Do
mantle
you believe
and
Earth
flung
is
it
simply
into
the
orbit.
result of
The moon
chaotic
stabilized
chance?
Earth's
Or do
tilt
you
on its
believe there is
axis,
an
making
invisible
our
hand
planet
that
suitable
shaped it all?
for life. The
Because
same
perhaps
impact
your
also
answer is
triggered
part of the
massive
great story
volcanic
humanity
eruptions that
continues
shaped
to
our
write each
planet's
day.
atmosphere.